Good evening, Kung Fu movie and martial arts fans. I have the distinct pleasure of speaking with Master Willie the Bam Johnson again. And you know, you guys watched the other interviews, one of the best interviews that I've ever done, and one of the most inspirational. So I'm back with Master Willie the Bam Johnson, and I just want to ask him before we get started, how are you doing tonight, sir?
Oh, I'm blessed, man. You know, I'm at 1 in 100, man. You know, I'm ready to go.
All right. And we're going to get right into this conversation because last time we touched on a lot of things, but I really want to touch on again the martial arts way of life, but from your unique perspective. And I want you to give, if you could, the fans and all the people who's watching this, how your background really has influenced the way you conceptualize martial arts, teach them, and impart your wisdom that you got from the hard streets. How do you do that in a way that still respects your roots, but also encompasses that martial arts way of life?
I guess I am who I am, you know, that's who I am, you know, that there's, as a kid, I was always confused of trying to find who I was, you know, and I still gotta go back and I gotta keep mentioning Bruce Lee, you know. I ain't all up on nobody's jock, I ain't on none of that, but when I'm saying you gotta give credit where credit is due, the man inspired so many people, you know, everybody talking about who can beat Bruce Lee, who can do whatever. The one thing that Bruce Lee did that makes his life, makes his legacy lives on, he was a philosopher. He was a nutritionist. He lived martial arts. He was able to show you how every aspect of his life exemplified his love for martial arts. I mean, you can't find no crack where it's like, whoa, okay, well, I mean, look at his kids. He was there with his kids. He forget the fighting. The fighting is the weakest part, man. Let's talk about the philosopher. Let's talk about putting it in the books and all the things that man had transitioned to become. And now for his daughter to now be in total control of her father's legacy. Come on. Oh my God, you're getting me pumped up, man. The girl worth millions of dollars now. He, as a leader, set a path for his daughter and his family to have more wealth than he ever seen. You ain't gonna tell me they ain't a hero? Come on, man. That's legacy. Am I right or wrong?
That is legacy. And let's think about this. His 7 to 14 page warrior idea has now become a 3-season series on, you know, the HBO family. I mean, that's legacy. And plus, you know, how many times have people referenced Enter the Dragon to the point where I think there was supposed to be a remake some years ago and people were like, nope, don't do it.
Don't do it.
They were like, don't do it.
Leave it alone.
That's what they said. And I haven't heard anything about that remake since. A lot of people like, don't do it. So that's legacy, but that's something that you're building too.
But that comes from, once again, to give credit to a man. I mean, let's go back. Let's think about it. I mean, and this is for everybody. Let's get real. When you in the ghetto, when you dealing with life back then, when you've been molested, and all you see is violence, you see death, you see bloodshed. You're looking for hope. So when you go and you can listen to a song, it might inspire you. But I went and I seen Bruce Lee, and he gave me hope. I'm never going to act like that don't matter. That man gave me hope. That image that I seen on that screen, I had enough know-how at 6 years old to see me. I didn't see Bruce Lee. I seen Willie the Bam Johnson. And when I walked up that movie theater, I was never the same. I made the nunchucks. I flipped off of pissy mattresses. I did whatever it takes because I didn't want the pain no more. So when I keep telling people say, I understand your pain. No, you don't understand my pain. Everything that can happen to a kid coming up in the city of Baltimore happened to me. Only thing that never happened with me was putting a needle in my arm. But every ounce of despair happened to me. And that inspiration I seen with that man, it gave me hope in the darkest times. You know, when I first read The Tower of Deep Window, I didn't understand what the hell he was talking about. But I knew it was something there, you know. But when I looked at all his philosophies and all these other these books and things like that, it gave me hope. Come on, man. This is what I think people keep missing. You keep saying I'm gonna help a kid out, but when that kid go back home and his mom strung out off a crack, or people laying around on the floor and they trying to fend for eating or trying to fend to go to school, and they got rusty, busted up shoes, and they going to school and everybody talking to them like they ain't nothing. Come on, man, let's be real. If you never understand that, you can't be on the surface talking about, oh, I'm gonna help you out. No, I was in the slums. I was in the gutter. And regardless of how low I was, I kept finding a way to practice my creative expression of martial arts. I was still able to write a letter to people that told me I was crazy, but I kept writing. And I kept writing until they started sponsoring me when I was 15 years old. All those connections came from me believing that that man on that screen gave me hope. Ain't nobody else give me that. But that hope that he gave me had everybody calling me Black Bruce Lee. They used to laugh at me, make fun of me. I was nothing but a wannabe Black Bruce Lee. That stuff used to hurt my soul, man. Yeah, I tried to, come on, let's don't get it twisted. Yeah, I went and I tried to, sell drugs and all that. But ask people what I did when I was on the step. I was reading Bruce Lee books. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? They was like, I was sitting there doing that dirt, but I was always reading a martial arts book because that's not who I wanted to be. I wanted to be the person I am right now. But nobody was there to give me the support and the inspiration, rather than judging that thing that man did to me. He did for me what Malcolm X did for me. You know what I'm saying? We talking about the spirit. We ain't talking about a person, so don't get it twisted. I'm talking about the philosophy and the concepts and the principles that can implant in you. So it's like hip-hop music. When it was conscious rap, when Kool Moe Dee said, knowledge is king, and poor righteous teachers, don't make me go off there, brother.
I want you to go off. We need to know. We did some of your favorite movies, and this is a little segue, but I'm a big hip hop fan, particularly hip hop from the 80s and 90s. After that, I don't know who they are, but you naming some people, man, and I remember, being a young man in Detroit, Kool Moe Dee. We had Public Enemy. We had X-Clan. We had Poor Righteous Teachers. We had Gangstar. There's a lot of Diggable Planets. There's a lot of Tribe Called Quest. I can name them forever because I'm like, them my guys. But in which one of your YouTube channels is Yah TV and the martial elements. And explain to the audience. I don't know if a lot of people know that.
Well, first of all, let me say one thing. When I first brought that here, wasn't nobody doing hip hop and martial arts. Breaking wasn't even in the Olympics. You understand what I'm saying? So when you understand our streets before Wu-Tang, it was 5 Fingers of Death, and it was, you could take 5 Fingers of Death and Coolie High and put them two together. Coolie High had one of the best soundtracks there was, man. You know what I'm saying? Then you take the Black exploitation and Kung Fu, you take Superfly soundtrack, you take Shaft soundtrack, you take Black Belt Jones, come on, man. What we did, man. We were making up martial arts, and we was going to block parties. We was on the cutting edge of all the backdrop sounds of hip hop in the early days, like James Brown and everybody with Ohio players and all that stuff. We were on the cutting edge of that. So when we heard, what was it? I said a hip, a hop, a hit, a hip, pop the hop, don't stop the rock to the bang bang boogie, hop up the boogie to the river, the boogie to the beat.
Sugar Hill
like,
Gang.
Oh man, brother, you getting me pumped. As a kid, we practiced those rhymes in the school. Everybody around the world was remembering that hip a hop, a hit it, a hip, hip a hop, the don't stop. And you was practicing your Kung Fu. And you was in love with Three the Hard Way. And you was inspired by Fred Williamson, thinking he was the coolest black man on the planet. Yeah. Talk to me, brother. Am I speaking facts or what?
You are speaking facts, and it's so interesting that was so prevalent then, because if you were a person who did not grow up or was around that, based upon what you see now, you would not know that.
That's right. That's right.
You would not know that.
I'm not going to let that die. So for me, I remember the thing that inspired me the most, and I think it got all of us. It's like a jungle sometimes. It make me wonder how it's going on.
Grandmaster Flash.
It was like, brother, he was speaking to us. It was like finally somebody was talking our language, what we were saying. Am I right or wrong?
You're right, man. I mean, these are all the songs that I grew up on. And, you know, I had older brothers. So I was the youngest, but they had records. So, you know, you imitate your older brothers.
That's
and
right. That's
that
right.
was always playing in the house. Always. So
if I would take you around in this room, I got over thousands of albums in this studio right here. Whoa. See, I don't just talk it. That's who I am. I mean, I understand. We talking about the things that inspire you when you're in darkness. So how does Kung Fu hip hop come about? That's what we call it, Kung Fu hip hop. How it really came about, that's what I did in competition. You know, let's just be real. When I was competing, I was one of the only Black kids that was doing the flips. And they didn't give me credit for doing all the flips and the butterfly twists and all that stuff. But I just took street gymnastics and I realized that it was the best thing to complement Kung Fu. So when I was going to tournaments, I was getting low scores. I was getting these bad scores. And as I evolved and came home from China inspired me because when I went to China during that time, I remember teaching in a college our culture. This is in China in the 80s. They said they treated me like I was a king. They called me Shaolin Sir, that meant Black Shaolin monk. When I went to China, and I'm not putting this down, but people need to know this, and my instructor know this, I made up my form. They didn't show me no new wushu form. Look, I come from the ghetto. When they said I'm going to China, I couldn't believe that I was going to be getting on no damn plane going to no mainland China. I come from B-more. So when it wasn't until I hit China that it was real. So when I get in China, I need one thing. I got to get the new wushu that Jet Li and everybody was doing that evolved all the tricking and everything that you see today. That came from wushu, man, because people couldn't do nothing with the wushu forms. So they had to emulate them and they had to come up with their own little twist on it. But when I went to China, it's like, hold up. I got 30 days to learn a form and a weapon to go back and win a world championship so I can get my mom out the projects. So this is what I did when I was a kid. I seen them running them lines, and in my mind, like this, my little 7-year-old son can do this. Everybody said, man, he like a prodigy. He can see something and pick it up just like this without me teaching him. You know, so I'm sitting there, and I said, okay, they're doing 4 lines. So I made up all the movements. So when they said, we're going to put you in an advanced group and a beginner's group, I need to be in an advanced group because I got to eat. So I figured out how to put the forms together. I was doing twists. I was doing everything. When they seen me, the head of the Beijing Physical Cultural Institute, that was the president of the Wushu Federation at that time, he said, oh my God, he's the best American to ever train in China. So my instructor said, oh, these guys over here, I was like, what are they talking about? They want to fight. They say your Kung Fu is not like regular Kung Fu. It's just too hard. That's the street, man. You know, I ain't going to be, nah, bro, I'm a fighter. I ain't going to be doing no soft stuff. That ain't what I am. I only did forms because I knew I can fight. When you see me, you already know I can fight. But let me flip you up. Let me do some art so you can respect me as an artist. That's why I started doing forms and weapons. So Master Brown said, go and fight with him. I'm not lying to you. Brother, when I started doing the boxing and what we do in the hood, it was over. Master Brown said, stop beating them up. You can't beat them up. The only way they're going to teach you is that you can't beat them up. But it wasn't that I was better than them, and it wasn't that they were better than me. My style of Kung Fu was totally unorthodox to them. Because I was doing the street. That's all I know. When you come up in the street, I don't care who you are. You ain't going to let nobody treat you like you no sucker. You know what I'm saying? You'll die proving that you ain't gonna punk me. You know, and that's what it was. And from that encounter, those guys became my blood brothers. I learned so much in China during that moment. They had us, I was doing breakdancing, we was rapping, we was walking around with the boom box. Remember Radio Raheem?
Oh, yeah.
I remember one time, look, this is a true story. They invited us to a party. They said, look, because nobody never seen all these black people. See, because remember, Master Brown is a black organization at that time. So the majority of us was African American. They never seen that in China, especially with a black man leading the troops and he can speak Chinese.
Yeah.
So they see us, they said, we want y'all to come to a party. We think it's a party like back home. It was an opera. They were doing, they was doing like, so we said, hold up, can we play our music? Brother, we turned that boom box on. We started popping and locking. They kicked us out the party like this ain't that type of party. But it led to them getting us to come to the college and talk to them about our culture.
Wow.
And who we were as a people. That was before anybody started talking about the power of hip hop. Think about it. Let's check this out. And for anybody that's listening, do you realize that hip hop is bigger in China, Hong Kong, Korea, and everywhere else than it is in our own country? And if we don't represent what we did with hip hop, when it goes to the Olympics, it'll be like it was never created in the hood. Talk to me, brother.
That's the way it's going. Like you know, my daughter is a big K-pop fan. So she gets into these things. I'm gonna make this short story, in these forums with people. And she's like, what they're doing is just our stuff, right? They're just doing it their way, but it's our stuff. And they're like, no, it's American pop. She's like, no, it's Black American culture that has been put over there and they're just using it. So it's already something where certain people don't even believe that stuff has come from African Americans.
Brother, here's where it goes back to Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee said the individual is far more important than the style of the system. Mm-hmm. People get caught up in the style of the system. So what Bruce Lee was trying to tell you, be you. You know what I'm saying? Represent your culture. The difference in Willie the Van Johnson, I represent an urban culture. I happen to, by way of Chinese and all these other arts that I did, but I represent the urban culture. Mm-hmm. The martial arts didn't teach me how to say sir, man. My dad taught me how to say that. Right. My mom taught me how to say that. That spiritual element that came to me when I was in jail, that's how we were raised. People keep on looking at the hood like it was a bad place. No, we used to leave our doors unlocked like Big Daddy Kane said. I'll take you there. Oh, I'll take you there. I'm sorry, bro. You got me pumped, man. But that's just it, man. I was too immature to understand the impact of us as a people. In my documentary, I talk about how I was ashamed of how I looked. I was ashamed of my nose. I was ashamed of my hair. I was ashamed of being black. I wanted to be something else. So that's why I got in trouble, because because when I went to school, I'm not trying to be funny, but all we talked about is us being slaves. I didn't want to be a slave. That's all they taught in school. You was on a plantation. You was picking cotton. Who wants to be that? You being whipped and shackled in chains and all that. I didn't want to be that, man. I didn't know nothing else to be, so I tried to be all these others. I wanted to be Elvis Presley. I wanted to be this person. So by me going through hell because of the choices I made, the greatest thing that ever happened to me was to be incarcerated. I'm going to say that again. The greatest thing to happen to me was to be incarcerated. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. That spiritual teacher came to me, and when a brother by the name of Brother D, which is in this movie that we just did, told me, he said, no, man, you got to learn to love yourself. Do you know we were kings and queens? I'm like, what? He's like, yeah. Do you know that we were kings and queens? Do you know we ruled empires? Oh my God, no. He gave me books. He said, read it. It's right there in front of you. But if you want to keep something from a person, put it in a book, because they ain't gonna read it anyway. So he made me read. And I began to understand, whoa. Now let me explain something to you. Now, guys, I'm just being real. Can I do a conversation that talked about the celebration of African-American development and awareness without people thinking I'm trying to be racist, because I'm not, that's not what this is about. I'm just being me. This is what really happened to me. Remember, I was ashamed of who I was. When this man told me to study Malcolm and study when Malcolm was a pimp and he was a drug addict and he was just hopeless. He was so dead, and he was a dead man walking. And one man came to him named Elijah Muhammad and told him to look in this book and learn to love yourself. And he became one of the most powerful figures that we know. He taught himself how to transform his life. Because we think, you know, what is it? The Department of Corrections, or think they don't correct you. You go to jail, you get lost in jail. Either you're going to pick yourself. Here's the three things that happen when you go to jail. First of all, my dad always took me to jails and say, don't go there, because that's no place for no man to be at. Because he spent so much time in his life. So I already knew better. So either you go with a gang of people and be treated like a sucker because you know you're afraid, or you go with some, or you just become somebody, you know, whatever, and they do what they want to do to you. Or you do what I did. I stayed to myself. I hung with nobody. I read every day. I went to any place that talked about God. And I got a friend of mine whose name is Tyrone Johnson, who brought me a Walkman, and I asked for specific tape that would help me. It was Gang Star, Let Your Conscience Be Free. It was Poor Righteous Teachers called you know, Holy Intellect. It was Cool Mo D, Knowledge is King. It was King's Son. You know, it was KRS-One. It was, oh man, it was Ice-T. You know, you played yourself. Come on, man, don't let me break it down to y'all. So what was happening to me in jail 24/7? I was reading the Bible. I was reading anything that talked about God. I was listening to things in my earphone. I had no time for your negativity. I didn't hang out in the day room. I didn't hang around people. I hung around God. I learned to love me, and every day I worked out. The champion that I became today was manifested in jail. Am I making sense here, brother? That's how I became the BAM. All what happened, for the first time in my life, I had a chance to learn to love me. But here's the first thing I realized: something wrong with you. How could a martial artist like you and a kid that was given everything, because my parents never sold drugs. My parent, if my dad heard me saying we was poor, he'd hit me upside my head to this day. Because he said, didn't you get what you want for Christmas? Then you had something to eat? Then you go fishing? He said, but don't be putting that poor stuff on your life, because you were rich compared to what most people didn't have in the hood. So for me, what I learned to do at that moment of incarceration, I knew something was wrong. And at that moment of conscious awareness, I realized that I needed to go and teach a kid with no method how to be stronger than drugs. So I came up with a concept called Stronger Than Drugs, because I had to be stronger than all the things that put me down. And the most important thing that I learned through that journey, see, many people are afraid to be with themselves. Many people, they want to be around other people. They need things to be happening. I'm okay with me. I learned in jail, I was locked down sometimes for 23 hours and let out for 1. I wanted to kill myself. I say that again. I wanted to hang myself. But I consciously realized that I dropped down on my hands and knees in 1989. And I said, God, if you give me another chance, oh my God, man, you give me another chance to use martial arts to empower the next generation, I will never abandon you. That was 37 years ago. And I will die for this conscious contact. That ain't no joke. People might think no, you don't understand what I went through. You never ate out the trash cans. I'm not just saying it just to say it. I'm saying it because that's what really happened. And when God gave me a conscious awareness, for me to ever go back to do what I used to do is for me to die. And that's real talk, brother.
Yeah, keep it real, man. I mean, but you know what I'll say, the comments that I've seen on my YouTube page for the interview is just that people want you to keep it real. They felt the first interview. They felt it. So I want to encourage you, not only in this interview, but in all that you do, because you really inspire me. You inspire a lot of people. Keep it real. I mean, we're in a time where That's not highly valued. Let me just put it that. I won't get into all that stuff, but it's not highly valued. And a lot of times, unfortunately, I'm no master, but when I read martial arts stuff, you can tell that some people aren't keeping it real. I'm gonna just leave it at that.
Well, brother, you know, martial arts is not who I live martial arts. You know, that's a part of who I am. Since the day Bruce Lee inspired me, and I'm gonna say that again. And I don't care how nobody feel about that, because I'm not against nobody. I come up in a community where everybody killing each other. So why do I want to be against another man that gave me hope? Why do I want to put down someone else? That to me, that's a form of ignorance. When I'm secure with me, all I want is love, peace, harmony, and happiness. I don't want to fight. I don't want violence. I done seen that all my life. I was a dead man walking. Brother, when I say I was dead, I was dead. I was consciously dead. Forget jail. Outside, I was dead. I wasn't addicted to drugs. I was addicted to a lifestyle. I was addicted to the same lifestyle that you seen in Godfather. How did we learn all that stuff? Go back and look at your history. Go back and look at the movies that was placed upon us with so much neck. Scarface movie killed more people than anything else as you can imagine. Come on, wake up. How the hell you put that in a movie? Who did it impact? It wasn't showed nowhere else but the hood. Don't get me started, man. I mean, man, come on, man. I know. No, I already been dead. And I'm not going to die like that no more. When it's time for me to go home to my father, I'm going to go home like my mom did. I'm going to go home peace, knowing that I gave everything that God blessed me with. He gave me a second chance. And my commitment is the next generation. I don't care nothing about no other devil. You can hate me. You can not like me. I really don't care nothing about that, because what I care about is that next. I care some about that little kid who nobody took the time, when the world of martial arts took the time to exploit you and use you and put you down and count you out. My own homies gave me more help back then than anybody else. Didn't nobody come and see me in jail. Didn't nobody come and look for me when I was homeless. All the things I was blessed with, I had to have the courage to make sure that I had the courage to tell the world that what happened to me, because everybody I knew in the martial arts was trying to use it to hold me back. What type of support is that? I went back to the people that I made mistakes so I can make amends, because that's what a man in jail told me to do. He said, go back to all those people you hurt and make amends, brother. That's what I did. So am I grateful? His problem is, but when I went back to the industry that I love and I thought that was all about the philosophies of what Bruce Lee was talking about, it was the same old stuff. Y'all pimping people. You ain't pimping me. I'm sorry, bro, but that's, I don't forget, Brother D said in jail, forget mastership. Guess what? There's only one master, that's God. That's what he taught me. One master is God. Man is just a token. When we start believing our own hype, thinking that, how could you we don't teach an individual nothing. We just bring out what's already inside of them. That's the power of hip hop. It's called expression. And guess what? Sometimes we as teachers stumble across a student that stumbled across their own expression, and we're supposed to compliment it, not enslave it. That's the problem with martial arts. I run a commercial school, and I always tell my students, outside the structured curriculum, you can get my truth. But the structured curriculum is just, that's what you want. But if you want the real, ain't no price tag on that. You got to earn that. Mm-hmm. Am I making sense here?
Yeah. Hey, we need it. We need to hear this. The martial arts audience needs to hear this. You're doing a lot of that through your publications. I mean, your books. I want to plug your YouTube channel. It's called, correct me if I'm wrong, because I was looking at it the other day, the BAM Teach TV. Is that correct?
BAM's Master Teacher TV.
Yes. I don't think, I'm going to link it so everybody will know. I'm going to link it in the description of this YouTube video. But it's you got a lot of stuff on there. And unfortunately, I'm looking at the views. I'm not happy with the number of views, because it should be, let's keep it, I'm going to keep it real on my side. It's some stuff on YouTube. I'm not talking about the stuff that gets a zillion views because the guy's setting himself on fire or nothing crazy like that. We know that's another level of mentality. It's going to get a lot of views, but some other stuff that's supposed to be serious, supposed to be philosophical, etc., is getting a ton of views, and it's anything but. It's superficial. The stuff on your channel is real, and it's speaking to, it's not speaking to the Black martial arts, but it's speaking to the American urban, which is a lot of people, martial artists and people. You know what I mean? And so talk about that concept of that of your channel on that, because you have several channels, but on that particular channel, because give a like an overview of it, because I don't think many people know about that channel.
Well, first of all, I mean, when you talk about that universal concept, if anybody do research on, oh man, I'm sorry, bro. When I was locked up, I refused to talk about racist stuff because I wasn't, when you grew up in the hood back in the day, even though we came from, when our parents came from that struggle, but I got along with all the things that everybody criticized today. I got along with police. I got along with it. It was a good community. If you had integrity and respect, people treated you that way. That's what the community was back then. It was, I mean, come on. My first summer job was by, Little Italy. That's an Italian community. They would bring us in and play baseball. It wasn't what everybody, that's why I don't choose a side. I'm just a God side. God brought all of this about. So I'm centered. So even when I was in the Nation of Islam and all that, I had to say, look, I understand what y'all preach, and I'm about the truth that connects us all, but I'm not going to talk about this other stuff because I went to China and they treated me like I was the king. So I can't do that. That's not my truth. My truth is my truth. And when you become truly connected to that universal truth, that's why when I came home from jail, my first name of my school was called the Universal Martial Arts Concepts. You get what I'm saying? The Universal Martial Arts Concepts. And, for me, that's what my channel, that's what that channel is. I want to talk about life. To me, martial arts is, all right, we were making a movie, and for prime example, we were making a movie 1 out of 100. So at the last shoot, we were supposed to be going to this elaborate place and shoot this last fight scene with the 2 stars. And all of a sudden, the place didn't come through. So this is what you do on the street. You got to flip the script. You ain't got no time to be like, you got everybody counting on you. You got to figure, all right, man, so what we going to do? So the last place I wanted to go to, it happened to be Baltimore City. Mm-hmm. So I had to call the same community center that was there for me as a 12-year-old kid called McKim's Community Center and say, hey, Dwight, this place didn't come through, and I need a place for a fight scene. Can I come to McKim's? He said, sure, Bam, whatever you want. We can do anything for the Bam here. So the last fight scene is historical. It is at the same place that I was raised in and I learned martial arts in. How the hell did that happen? You ain't gonna tell me God ain't riding this bus, man.
Right.
So we go there, everybody, because the streets, I'm always aware of everything. I believe that because me being a leader today and someone that's put in this position, I got to play the wall. So while everybody else is celebrating, I play the wall. I ride the wall because I can't let nothing get behind me. So I got to always ride the wall. I can't celebrate with you. I got to allow you to celebrate and I got to protect you. That's just the role that I understand I'm in today. So while everybody doing everything, I creep outside and all of a sudden I see this guy now coming to you wouldn't think, if you see this community, some people wouldn't even think, see, that's the combat that I'm talking about that people just don't get. And I'm like, hold up. I see the Fiend going up and walk around the building. So I'm like, nah, man, you can't come in there. You know, we doing something. He like, what you talking about, man? But then he look at me and say, Bam Bam, is that you, Bam Bam? So this was a long story. Someone I knew that was now in darkness. But here's the thing that makes what I do real. I recognize that this is an old friend that couldn't identify with me for real, but he assumed that I was who I am. Mm-hmm. But here's a set with all the people, my kids and everybody I got to protect. So when he kept asking me, Bam Bam, I was like, I ain't say nothing. So after the third time, he said, oh, well, you ain't Bam Bam. I thought you was my boy Bam Bam. I was his boy Bam Bam, but I ain't going to recognize that because that'll bring tension to this operation. So these are things that, brother, this is life. That happens in the daytime. You know, these are things that I share with my students. When something happens in a day where I could have went over the edge, but I always tell people, I give people one spit. I will give you one spit. You can spit on me one time and I'm gonna let you go with that, but it ain't gonna be a second time. And if it is a second time, then I was too stupid to allow myself to be in that situation. That's the hustler's code, man. So that's what I teach my students, and I'm real with them. They'll tell you, no, Professor Bam, he sit there. This is what I tell my kids. Always be aware for me being lost, because if I come in here and I'm a lost black man, a lost man, you got to leave me alone. And if I ever do something that abuses you and hurts you, then you got to take me out. That's what I teach my kids. Most people are like, well, what would you say that? Because guess what? We as human beings, we all can make a wrong decision that can take us down a dark path. But I'm going to prepare everybody that I know and I love to be aware when I'm no longer the man that's being led by God, but I'm being led by self, ego. Am I making sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
And for me, that's what all I do. That's what that channel is trying to show. You go on that channel, you probably see Melvin Williams, one of the most notorious gangsters in Baltimore City, the TV show By the White. Think about this. I got a chance to sit down with one of the most notorious gangsters in the world to bring his philosophy to martial arts, because we always talk about killing and destroying and you the baddest this and you the baddest that. You better not go in no hood talking about you the baddest. That don't work in the street. Come on, man. Let's get civilized. You ain't gonna go in no jail and say you the baddest. We are human beings, and we must martial arts. The ultimate goal is it begins and ends with respect. Well, guess what? When you took those morals and principles out the hood became what it is right now. Because you ain't gonna tell me back in the day, even if a person didn't like you, if he said, yo, don't come over here no more, out of respect, you didn't go there. Yeah. You take morals and principles away from people like Master June Reed say, without morals and principles, we become animals. And the Bible talks about that. God gave us a higher plane than an animal. That's the ability to make a higher choice. But if we decide to make a lower choice, then we animals. I can't live like that no more. And I'm not going to allow nobody to live like that around me. And I'm not even going to punch you. I'm just not going to have you around. I mean, I'm not with this mastership and you know, people get celebrity status and they walk in. Come on, man. I done been around some people that had more money than when you. I always tell people in the martial arts, I don't do it for money. They're like, why would you do it for money? Because I seen more money than you probably would ever see in your lifetime. So I ain't trying to do it for money. I do it for the kids, because my true wealth is inside of me. You know, when we first started talking, you can see, if you see me any day at 3 o'clock in the morning, I'm the same person. I'm hyped, I'm pumped. Man, I'm celebrating life, brother. You feel me? Mm-hmm. Does that like answer your question? I know I went off with this.
No, that's you answered the question. So I got another question for you.
Talk to me.
You mentioned production on 1 out of 100, and your Facebook and Instagram been blowing up with behind the scenes photos and some footage from 1 out of 100. Again, to remind everyone about 1 out of 100, can you again, I mean, you don't have to get into the story unless you want to, but how can people help? Because this has a good, other than just, we're going to see some great martial arts and all that stuff we're a fan of, but it also has a more of a purpose. And I want you to talk about that, about how people can contribute and help with the project in total.
Okay. And the one thing I want to say, I say I'm like 50 Cent. You know, I like that philosophy because I got too much creativity inside of me that God has blessed me with. The only way I can lose sight of that is when I put drugs, alcohol, and ego in the way. So people can steal whatever they want to steal, but guess what? You're going to always have to come back to the raw, because guess what? The raw is the truth. You know what I'm saying? You can take the cut, but the cut eventually runs out. And I think that's why I don't mind telling people, because it's bigger than me. You know, these things come through me. And 1 out of 100, when I was locked up, Brother D said only one of y'all gonna make it. That's what he told me. Out of 20 men, he said only one of y'all gonna make it. I was in a group with a bunch of men called Who Are You? And every time he said, so who are you? Do you know who you are? Any man that sells drugs and do what you do, you less than a man. So don't even call yourself a man. You know, you need to go home, take care of your kids, show respect to your community and all those things. So he said, but only one of y'all gonna make it. And still to this day, after 37 years, I hope that I am the one out of that 100 that's still making it. You know, the celebration in that movie and for my kids, for me, is that my life of being clean and sober has far outweighed the life of living the foul life that I used to live. That's bigger than any title I could ever achieve. So what I do with all my kids and all of my students, I look around and try to help you tell your truth. I don't want you to tell my truth. I don't want you to be like me. That's why I get mad when students look at me for answers. They'll tell you, oh, he get mad when you start looking at him. I'm like, man, forget me. Let's see you stumble across something that came through you, and let's have fun with trying to find your way to greatness through that. So, you know, with every last one of my kids, they just express themselves. So during COVID, my 14-year-old son, Messiah, who's truly our Messiah, so it ain't just a name, he inspired, he brought our family together. He is our Messiah. So during COVID, when everybody was fighting and going crazy and marching, he said, Dad, why are they marching as COVID-19? That was an interesting question. Why are they marching when yet we are still under these devastating situations? So out of nowhere, because I always believe I listen to God. That's why I get up in the morning, because that's when the highest spirit speaks to you. And I just started writing, and I got a student to write it, and I got Gerard Lehman, some other people. And then I took it to Robert Parham, and you know, I know you know Robert. Robert, he is the hardest working independent Black filmmaker on the planet. And when I say he a real brother, he a real brother. He gives from his heart and his soul. He said, man, let's do it. Brother, do you realize we reached out to everybody to put in funding and do all this? Ain't nobody put no money up for this movie. We did this with our heart and our soul. You know what I'm saying? But this ain't a Black story. This ain't a karate story. It ain't a kung fu story. It's a story of coming age of a group of young teenagers that refuse to be enslaved or submitted by these masters and all this false stuff that goes on in the world today. We don't take no sides, but we want you to go, I want people to leave that movie going, That's what it is, man. It's real, man. It's so much. We did this movie in 4 days. We talking a full-length film in 4 days, man. It stars my son, Messiah. It stars my little son, Zarion, 7 years old. You know, one of my Black belts, Mr. Wilkes, came in. We wrote it. We get out every day and we wrote it. Robert, I mean, everybody that came through, man. We got Billy Blanks, a virtual judge. We got Jerry Trimbaum, a virtual judge. Brother, I'm being so blessed with people who were my heroes, inspiring me during the days of blockbusters, you know, kung fu movies and stuff, that said, no, man, I'm gonna do whatever you want me to do because you all about the kids. Well, that's what this movie is about. It's all about the kids. There were so many tears shown and shed during the filming of this film, man, because there were moments that this is truly my testimony to get through my own demons. And imagine you sitting there. I think the powerful thing about this movie and everything that I do, the first time I did this with my son Marco on WMAC Masters. Then that channel that you talk about called Fooyah, my daughter did that channel. Everything that I do is oh man. When that man told me to go back and get my kids, see, anybody that know me wherever I go is all about my wife and my kids. You know, that's what this is all about. When we talk about a legacy, this ain't even for me no more, man. This for them. That movie's for them, for my kid, for my son to sit there and do a scene talking about my mother and his mother, and we cry. No, I'm already blessed. You can't give me no more than what we done got from this movie. And to go back to the hood of Baltimore and show you that truth, oh man, come on, baby. We celebrate the greatness in every community that we call hopeless and despair. We showing you in every one of those community centers, there was some good structured activity going on. There were people that cared about us and was trying to keep us on the straight and narrow. And that's what we want to show with this movie. But most importantly, let's go past the commercialism of martial arts. See, I want to deal with real martial arts. Don't get me wrong. You know, even though I started on a creative level, I believe the one thing that's so important about learning how to achieve a higher level of martial arts, people got to learn how to set goals. So if we set a goal and say, let's get black belt, of course, yeah, we know black belt ain't like it used to be. We know that. But the goal of achieving that will stick with a person for a lifetime, and all they will know inside their core is how to complete something. That's a win itself. So 1 out of 100, it means that regardless of what's going on, I will give it 1% more. If it means when my alarm clock goes off, I don't turn it off, I get up, then that's 1% more. Think about it. 1% of the people control all wealth in the world. If I can get a kid to have that sort of mindset of 1%, then he's equal to the person that got all the external growth. All you got to do is keep believing in your mental mindset where it all starts at. And guess what? You'll be like me. I came out of jail with $20 in a dream. Look at me today. Am I making sense, my brother?
Uh-oh. Yes, you are. I'm sorry, I hit the mute by mistake, but yes, you are.
And that's all 1 out of 100 is. It's real, man. It's just, it talks about God. You see the Bible. I mean, come on, man. I ain't preaching religion. I'm just a spiritual person. I mean, when you're dead, you got to grab a hold of anything that can give you the opposite of negative and death. It don't matter if it's, let's say if it's 12 steps, if you do 12, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, if it's saving your life, then keep doing it. Don't let no master, somebody tell you, hey, that's the wrong way. Well, guess what? He ain't got to go back to the hood and see drug addicts on the floor and seeing people being murdered in front of your face. Guess what? The murder ain't even just in the hood. This is happening in the suburbs. This whole concept is not just the hood no more. When you see the flip side to trying to exploit things, eventually the exploitation comes through the cracks and it affects whatever you was holding on to that you didn't want to exploit. Now you got all these other kids walking around wanting to be drug dealers, and they ain't even got to be a drug dealer. Am I making sense, brother?
Yeah, you telling the truth on that one. I think that's the point we're in. Well, we've been in it for some time, but I think it's really in front of our faces as a whole in the country. It's yeah.
And the truth is, you know, this ain't a gangster movie. This ain't a black movie. We have a new group of kids that are more intellectually like sound than any generation before them. Because my son Messiah never came up in the hood and he was raised in the suburbs in a good life, that don't mean he a sucker.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That's the flip side. We think you got to go to the hood or you got to go to the jail and get up. No, man. See, here's the thing that we got to remember. When we teach people to understand that the emotions that we feel, the same emotions I felt when I wanted to like go and sell drugs because I couldn't handle the pressures of the world, is the same emotions a kid might feel when he fails and gets a C on his report card. See, we're dealing with the emotion. When we understand the emotion and we capture the emotion, once we realize that we are more like the same, I don't care what color you are, I don't care what race you are, the emotion is still the same. We hurt. You know what I'm saying? We get setbacks, Ain't no reason to give all these intellectual names. It's hurt. That's what it is. It's hurt. Let's identify with the emotion. Let's figure out what's the opposite of that emotion. And let's realize that we're more alike than different. It don't matter your color, your creed, your style, or nothing. None of that matters when you're in pain. None of that matters when you're just being real with your own internal self. But why did I have to go to jail and learn it? Ask yourself that question.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have to go through hell when we as leaders, rather than being so manipulated and selfish and egotism, you know, or egotistic, why can't we just give it away because it was given to us for free? See, the real truth ain't no price tag on it. You can't package that up. That's what the guy told me, and that's what this movie's about. Brother D said, look, bro, the truth is real. We can't sell this. Can't nobody say, well, I got to be a mentor. That's what got us in trouble anyway. Some man said, well, look, you got to come to me and I'm going to show you this, then you're going to be good. No, I don't need you. I need my conscious contact with God. With a high, you can call it, we know it ain't human. Whatever that spiritual force is, when you get that contact and black belt don't matter, because we set the goal for black belt, but when you get so caught up, it's like the concept that Bruce said. He talks about the story where the man couldn't swim and his family was over on the other riverbank, and his wife was calling for him, and he needed to get over there to the family, and he couldn't swim. So he took the log, put it in the water, and paddled his way on the log over there. And when he got over, his wife and his kids was hugging him. Oh, thank you. And he was holding on to the log. Oh my God, the log saved my life. He missed the whole message. The log was just used to get to your family. Throw it away. Am I making sense?
You preaching, brother. You making sense. And you know, I think people need more people to be real with them. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
And I think that it's no negative to being real. Like, I can't really think of a negative to being real. And it's like, you know, Master Bruce Lee said, and many others, but particularly, you know, his philosophy, you absorb what is useful, reject what is useful, and make it your own.
Yes.
But that's real. And it's no negative in being real to me. It's none.
In my little twist to that saying of Bruce Lee, I say, use what is useful, but store away what is not. Because one day, that which was no longer useful will then become back useful. And I wanted to have it on the shelf so I can pick it down. If I throw it away, I got to search for it. You know, and anybody tell you around here, everywhere, I can find, whenever I'm in pain, I can find the things that help me get out that same pain. That's what has kept me on this path, you know? So, you know, and that's what Bruce will want you to do. But that's what any leader will want you to do. The guy, Brother D, who helped me find myself in jail, he told me, he said, look, brother, don't give me that credit. It's my duty to pass it on to you and leave it alone. Don't be me some God or some master. And he said, guess what? And this is a powerful thing, and this relates to Bruce. And this is a real OG from the street now. Him and Bruce Lee saying the exact same thing, never met each other. Brother D said this. He said, look, I'm glad you like me. I'm glad I'm there for you. But if you call me and I'm home with my family and you keep calling me and I don't answer the phone, man, I ain't calling you back. You better figure out how to get through what you got to get through, because I gotta have a balanced life. I gotta have balance with my family and with everything else. I can't just be all into you. So, and it's gonna come a point in time where I ain't gonna be there. Everybody ain't meant to be in your life for the rest of your life. They meant to be on your path like Cain and Kung Fu. You travel down the path, you meet this wandering man, he hits you with a pebble, boom, and then you gone. You can't be looking for that man for the rest. Oh, where the master at? I tell my students, guess what? If you get in a fight, don't call me, because I ain't coming, man. You better figure it out all on your own, baby. You know?
That's real. And you said something that made me think, and it's going to be a question, because I really want your opinion on this one. Speaking of Kung Fu and Caine, those shows, Kung Fu, I mean, it was a lot of them back in the day that there weren't even martial arts related, but they all had messages in them that were deeper than just the show.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel that that's neat? I mean, I'm probably asking a stupid question, but do you feel that that's something that's missing in our modern media? Because we have shows that are much better production values than they could have ever been in the 70s and 80s. However, they're, in my opinion, they're missing what made those shows have an appeal. And that is the show Kung Fu really transcended Kung Fu, and it was about a man living his life on this journey to find what he was trying to find and all the lessons he learned along the way that, you know, were lessons that he was taught in the temple, but the flashbacks, he started to understand those lessons when he was going through the real stuff. Do you think that's something that is one of the elements that's missing from, it's not only martial arts shows or movies, but it's missing kind of like from American media now? It's just a lot of nice looking stuff. You know, the screen is great, everything, but it's hollow inside. Do you think that's the case?
Yeah, I believe that, because I believe everything we do should feed the subliminal. Like when you mentioned Fuya. Fuya means fighting ultimately your attitude honestly. It ain't just a word, it means something. When you say it, Fuya, fighting ultimately your attitude honestly. I will not do anything that doesn't have some meaning to connect to someone on a spiritual level. When you think of, when I'm gonna hit you with something, when you see this little portrait right here, that's a man in the hood running from his past. That's my life story book that's being shot by my agent called The Master's Purpose. So the same thing that you're talking about, you right there, brother. I need to drop some pebbles. Like, come on, let's go back to hip hop. When gangs start, mate, let your conscience be free. These are the words that I manifest. You know, when you were in trouble, come on, Jay-Z ain't come up with the blueprint of hip hop. That was KRS-One, man. You know what I'm saying? We must learn. Why is that? Come on, man. I want you to think. If the name BAM, everything that I do have a meaning. The name BAM means better attitude makers. Wherever I go, I got to make it a better place. It ain't me. It's an acronym. It's an affirmation. If we want to help people, if a kid can keep saying yo 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 yo, if I keep on, I used to think OG meant original God. That's what I used to think. Mm-hmm. Until somebody said, no, that means original gangster. I'm still calling it original God. That's what I like. You know what I'm saying? So we drop pebbles. In our class, we say a student's creed. It said, I will strive to the best of my ability to keep myself physically, mentally, and spiritually strong. I will use what I learned in Wushudo in a humble state of consciousness, respecting the laws of mankind and living by the laws of the universal creator. That's a deep quote. Isn't that a deep creed?
That's a deep creed.
But guess where it came from? In a jail cell, me waking up 3 o'clock in the morning, I rolled up my bunk and I wrote it down. That's what I'm talking about. These are pebbles. I don't say it come from me, it came through me, but even those last words, it says, I respect the laws of mankind. I used to worship human beings. I thought they had all the power. I think the most important one was when my mom died in my arms and I wanted to die. I worship her as the greatest being ever. But when my sister said, Mommy don't want you to be doing this, Mommy never wanted you to do that anyway. She wants you to be better. So that thing came to me, and I said it to all of my students, don't worship me. I'm going to fail you. I want you to know I'm only human like you. You know, when people come in my studio, at any given time, there might be like raising my kids. There were men that were fathers taking care of their kids and bringing their families to me to teach them. And these were men of all different races. You know, I was a minority in my school when I first started. So when I'm sitting there, I'm seeing these examples of being a good father and a good husband. So they help me become a better person. But if I'd have got so caught up on me being the man and I'm the master and I know everything, no, I don't know everything. If I'm open, I can learn what I'm weak at and I can become more complete. That's why my book called A Complete Martial Artist. That's 360 degrees of knowledge, man. Positive and negative, and knowing people don't understand that. We talking 360. You know, so that's what I want to implant on my students. You know, you come to our school, when you go through black belt cycle, you got to do a 15-page thesis. You know, they got to study Boys in the Hood.
Oh.
They got to study Menace to Society. They got to study Less Than Zero. They got to study a culture that most people never expose them to. But when they go off to college and happen to wander in the wrong neighborhood, I want them to identify with negativity. But guess what? That ain't even the hood no more. That's in corporate America. Let's get real. That's amongst the people that are in positions of power. We can change a lot of these problems. Even with, I'm gonna go back to this movie. What, as big as the martial arts world is, if they want to help fix the problem, and I'm talking about really helping the kids in the hood, okay? And look, what you gonna do to me? You can't do nothing to me that I haven't already did to myself. I'm all about peace, love, and happiness. And I just want harmony, and that's what we're showing if we really want to fix the problem, remember the kid in the suburb want to be like the kid in the hood.
Yeah.
The hood don't buy rap, bro. The hood don't buy rap music. It's the suburban kids that keep 50 Cent and Eminem and everybody getting paid. Because ain't no kids in the hood. They like, yo, you get that album because you gonna burn me a copy. You know, it ain't, nah, ain't nobody paying. They ain't like that, bro. And you go to the flea market, they still sell mixtapes. You know what I'm saying? Mixtapes only $5, and the mixes is better than the real album. So, you know, we ain't talking about no internet mixtapes. We talking about right there on the street. You understand what I'm saying? So, if we understand, if we can impact the gutter level lost souls, or let's say undiscovered souls, because some of them kids are not even lost. They just haven't got no direction. What we want to do with the movie, we want to give 100 scholarships away to the DMV area. That's our goal. We're not talking physical DVDs. We're talking virtual training. We're talking coaches and mentors. We want to teach teenagers how to become tomorrow's coaches and mentors for the younger kids. Any money that people give, not just do they get a chance to get something back, but they give us a chance to be able to go to a community and say, look, man, you getting good grades in school? Look, man, you know, we doing class here. You know, your mom won't pay for it. Nah, well, I ain't gonna give it to you for free because free don't help you with nothing. Clean the toilets, and you can earn the right. You got to do something, homie. You ain't just gonna get it for free. So don't think we trying to, if we do that right and we all come together, we can change the image, because guess what? If people do you realize a drug dealer on the first of the month make well over $1 million in one day? So let's wake up. There's some kids, there's some people that we collectively, we can make programs self-supported through their own contributions. We don't need government funding. If we do it right and we let the purpose be higher than the person, because it ain't about celebrating me. It's about celebrating us. It's about us all coming together. And the credit don't go back to me. The credit goes back to all the people that's a part of this journey, from Malcolm to Martin, to Bruce Lee, to Jimmy Wayne Yu, to Jim Kelly, to Fred Williamson, to Marcus Garvey, you know, to all those influences, man. It's a collective vibration that went through the earth that inspired me to be who I am. And it's my duty to make sure I get out the way and bring that vibration to everybody. So any movie or anything that I'm attached to, it's about empowerment for the next generation. That's all it is. I ain't doing no wasted, hollow projects because I want to be famous. Come on, I was on WMAC Masters. That was one of the most popular shows in the world. I done been to that point where fame don't equal fortune. And wealth is truly that what's inside yourself. When I'm feeling with you, this is wealth right here, brother. How can it get any better than this?
I can't answer that one. I cannot answer that one. I mean, you, like I said, I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but you're keeping it real, and that's what was needed. And the universe has a funny way, if you funny in that funny sense of the word, way of what you put out is what you get back. Yeah. And you're putting out positivity, so you can't help but get it back.
Thank you. And
I want to thank you, because I'm always inspired talking to you. I'm glad I actually met you and had the opportunity to do it, and hope to do it, you know, continually in the future and as well. And I'm gonna put a link into the my mind is going, the YouTube description, like I did on the other video, for 1 out of 100 for pointmma.com. I went and already did a sponsorship, so I'm gonna go do another one. And you know, we're gonna try to, we want to help the children, man. We want to help the youth, because we were all children. Actually, most people don't know this. I'll share this. I'm actually a teacher. That's what I do for. That's what I do for my government job. But that's what I do. I'm a teacher of students with special needs. I teach students with autism in Detroit public school system. So When I'm shaking my head, it's not to patronize. I understand, born and raised in Detroit. Had a lot of friends. Some made it. Some are not here now. And so Baltimore, Detroit, a lot of these, Chicago, a lot of these areas are very similar. The hip hop music. I remember practicing what I call Kung Fu back in the day in my yard, and everybody laughing at me. I remember, it's the same stuff. Now, I'm not saying I'm at your level or anything. I'm just saying that I can really relate, because a lot of times I'm smirking, I'm laughing. It's because I remember similar things and similar people and encounters with people over the years through the hood, through living in Detroit and its surrounding areas. And it's the same conversations. It's the same. And I mean that in a good way. It's like that same energy that's there, the same hip hop music, the same songs. The martial arts scene here was huge back in the day. Grandmaster Willie Adams.
Yes, yeah, that's right.
Master Richard Plowden. The funny thing is, I live down the street from Richard Plowden. Like I see Master Richard Plowden at the store, and I talk to him and everything, and these people, including yourself, are like my heroes because of longevity, and that's the longevity within the martial arts, but in life. These men have families. They, Master Plowden's children are now tournament champions and giving Zoom workshops and things of that nature, being in black belt themselves, being profiled. So while I've never studied or trained with him, I feel proud, because this is a guy that was always in the martial arts scene in Detroit. It's like Master Plowden. My cousin was actually a student when she was younger of Master Plowden. I remember sitting in on classes. So all this to say that it was meant to be, and the positivity that you're spreading and touching people, and people are spreading out, and they're just from their relationships with you. They may know you, and they're spreading out and they're doing their positivity. I think we got a great shot at counteracting that negativity that seems to be there. But I'm just, all that to say, I'm agreeing with you, and I really appreciate it and can relate to what you're saying.
And one of the things that you said, first of all, we are equal. I don't care them about martial arts. We as men, they say the moment we wake up, a black belt is just a white belt that never quit. You know what I'm saying? My instructor, Master Brown, my ultimate goal is get back to being a white belt. We start as a white belt. In Kung Fu, there are no belts. Really in life, there are no belts. All we got is the day. But, and I wouldn't even put myself in the category of Master Plowden or Billy Blanks or Scorpion Barrage. I was that little kid that was on the sideline, just being honored to just be amongst those men. And I hope that I am carrying on the legacy that they paid for me to inspire me to want to, get out the hood. I would be nothing without standing on the shoulders of those giants, man. And I look up to them. I honor them. And if you really understand Point MMA, it is probably the first urban expression of martial arts by way of the hood that really have techniques named after Billy Blanks or named after Keepin. And I did that because when a kid have to say the Billy Blanks technique, who is Billy Blanks? Well, you go on the internet, you research him, and now a whole nother generation gets a chance to know that Billy Blanks wasn't famous for Tabo. He's a great martial artist. You see? So it goes back to that first question that you had. The greatest thing that you can give someone is knowledge of self. That's more powerful than money. When you can give someone the ability to look inside themselves, and I'll say this last thing, Grandmaster Junior, you heard of Junior, right?
Oh yeah. Father of American Taekwondo.
One of the greatest things that ever happened to me in my life was, other than starting the TV show with Shannon Lee, was that one day Grandmaster Junior was seeing me on a documentary called the A&E Masters of the. It was something about the martial arts, and it had did it was the first time anybody had did a story on a urban martial artist from an inner city like that, Baltimore. And at the end of this, if you look at the end of the documentary, it had me meditate. It had me talking about how when I went to jail, I spent all my time meditating. Well, Master June Reed, you know, God bless his soul, he said, you come from ghetto, become great man, you make us proud. Can you imagine? Oh man, can you imagine what my mom think of that?
Mm-hmm.
That poor woman who was handicapped and couldn't hear out of her 2 ears. And, you know, her greatest moment was check day. And they give me food stamps to go and buy some corned beef and a soda. And I stole money and called Hong Kong. We hope that woman to this day is proud that I did what she wanted me to do. Just be a good man. That's all that's all you want a kid to do. Look, you ain't got to go to jail, man. You ain't got to fake. You ain't got to do none of that. Just love yourself. You ain't even I done did it all for you. Many of us done did the help for you. You ain't got to go there. Let's make your journey. You don't have to go to jail to be hard. You don't have to fight to be a warrior. You don't have to do negative stuff because you already got uncontrollable negativity that's going to come your way. Don't reinforce it by volunteering for negativity, you know? And I think that's the great moment here. And if I can drop a pebble or a seed, man, I'm not that intelligent to even take the credit for this. And even me and your relationship, I can't forget Master Demetrius. If it wasn't for him bringing us together, we wouldn't even be here. We as brothers and sisters of all colors and race got to learn to work together and celebrate one another because iron sharpens iron.
Mm-hmm. Wow. That's so true. Great words from a great man. Master Johnson, we're going to leave those at pointmma.com. I keep saying that people will get it. We're going to leave that in the YouTube description. And I'm going to link several of your channels there too. So people click it, go to it. Let's get this done, people. Let's contribute. Let's send some kids some much needed things so they can grow to be great people. And then they'll in turn do the same. And then we can keep this cycle of positivity going. So please click the description in the links. Go contribute. Yeah, what you said is so profound, I don't even know how to follow it up. So thank you.
Hey man, that's God. Thank you, brother. Don't forget, I'm a friend request you to make you a special guest in the 1 Hour 100 group.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so you can get hands-on information and feed the world what we got going on, man.
All right.
It's fun, brother.
I'm gonna accept that. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time this evening. Always great to talk to you. We got to do a part 3. Maybe we'll just do straight up hip hop next.
Yeah, baby. Yeah, get some beats. Hey, on the new documentary, you got me on there with Ice-T.
Oh yeah, you know.
Yeah, we got Ice-T on the documentary, bro. You gotta see it, man.
Oh, I gotta see it. Ice-T is like, man. Yeah, we had to talk about Ice-T. Ice-T had some stuff back in the day, boy.
We ain't talking about the law and order Ice-T.
No,
we talking about the old Ice-T.
The ice or just the iceberg. That's the one I'm talking about. Thank you, Master Bam.
All right, thank you, sir. You. Be blessed.
You too.
All right, have a good night.
You too.
All right, thank you.